I'm Deca-Dence.
We just finished watching Deca-Dence by
Deca-Dence.
Studio Nut.
Studio Nut. Busted a Studio Nut. Oh, man.
So, for those of you who have never heard of Studio Nut, as I had previously not been aware of Studio Nut.
I mean, they're brand new, you know.
They're not actually brand new. They did the Saga of Tanya the Evil, and they did Fooly Cooly Alternative.
Yeah. But that was the second one, right?
The good one.
The good one, yeah.
And I stand by that. It's the good one.
People are already lost us when you said it was the good one.
Fight me.
Yeah, so director of this show has worked on fucking... Oh yeah, he was the director of Death Billiards, so that's, I think, where he basically got to start. Death Parade. Death Parade was like a young animator showcase
Death
kind of
Billiards
thing.
was the young animator showcase. Death Parade was the full series.
Okay, yeah, that was the full series.
Yes.
Yeah, he's worked on a bunch of that kind of shit.
Some
fucking
Mob Psycho
storyboards
credits.
and director for Mob Psycho 102.
Dude has a
And Mob
pedigree.
Psycho 101. He's done a lot of fucking great shit. The writer for this was, I think he worked on Attack on Titan.
Which shows.
And he also did Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress.
Which shows.
And so, going into this one, so I was immediately excited. Because this is the kind of thing that I always get excited about, even if it turns out to be bad. Because I like anime original shit! With sci-fi worlds!
I've been
and
burned
plots.
too many times. I'm jaded to anime original shows.
I'm sure you guys are starting to get a feel for what kind of stuff that we gravitate towards. I dig for the anime original stuff with interesting plots and cool backgrounds. Even if I know it's gonna turn out to be disappointing. I really liked Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, even though it wasn't like it. I wouldn't say it was good or a classic or a masterpiece, but it was just different. I just want shit that's different and that's high effort, you know?
Is it not a classic though? Because even though
This is
it's
kind
not
of a cult
bulletproof.
classic.
It's
Yeah.
not bulletproof by any means. It's not perfect. But it is so unique and so different from what was going on at the time that it sets itself apart.
And fuck, what is it, Mume, the girl?
Yeah, Mume is
Fucking
ridiculously
hot as fuck. Jesus, one of the best character designs like
10
ever.
out of 10.
God.
You don't get any better than that. They made a whole movie about putting Mume in compromising positions.
Yeah.
That's how hot she is.
That movie was pretty neat.
That movie was dumb as fuck.
But like, some fucking sick-ass staff on this. Animated by Studio Nut, which is basically just run by those fucking guys, you know?
Nut.
So, I was immediately excited about this. Hope was very
Victor was mad
skeptical
stoked.
going into it.
I was jaded, as I always am.
And, like, this one, for an anime original, fucking, like, solid fucking first episode. Like,
I mean, I won't lie. This one fucking, it got me, man.
it really got me. I was very excited.
I am on board with everything this show is delivering
I was
right
excited,
now
like,
in
from the
this first
moment
episode.
that it started to the minute it ended. I was just like, thank God it wasn't bad. Thank God it wasn't bad. That's all I could think.
I was very concerned watching the trailer because some of the mechanics are so close to Cabaneri and some of the mechanics are so close to Attack on Titan. I was just like, oh god, I hope it's just not aping the
it
popularity
easily could
of
have felt
Attack
like a
on
cash
Titan.
grab. Because, like, Cabaneri felt like this is a overly serious, like, follow-up to Attack on Titan, trying to follow in that aesthetic, and it kind of, like, it looks gorgeous, but the plot was not
gorgeous.
there, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't go in the right direction. This one feels way more competent from the get-go in terms of storytelling and character building, and, like, it's not taking itself that fucking seriously, and it's got a lot of interesting elements that we can get into, but, as far as this goes compared to, like, something like Listeners, episode 1, like, we didn't finish the rest of Listeners.
We watched
I never
approximately
got
one episode
motivated,
of Listeners.
but, like, that was one where, like, we had watched so much dog shit before we got to Listeners that it felt like, oh, this could be pretty neat, but it had all those, like, calling cards of this could be total shit, you know, but it was so
But we never
refreshing.
finished it, so
yeah,
we have
and
no
we
way
never
of
finished
knowing.
it, and then it sounded like it was not good at all, you know, like, that's what I've heard, is that it wasn't good, but this one feels way stronger than that did, in terms of, like, this could actually be a great show.
Everything in this episode is strong. I sensed no red flags, nothing that made me go, but...
Really like the premise, really like the characters,
God,
really love
so
the aesthetics
good.
of everything.
It has a fucking top-tier Oyaji. How long has it been
yeah.
since we've had a good Oyaji? What, since Tiger and Bunny? How long has it been?
Because I guess
been
being
dry.
Asian didn't really deliver an Oyaji.
That's
you know?
not an Oyaji.
He felt like he was meant to be an Oyaji, but he just wasn't. They didn't give him the character
Abject
design,
failure.
But this guy's pretty cool. I really just hope COVID doesn't fuck this show. I really, really hope that it's consistent and that it doesn't get screwed, because you could easily, like, the level of work going into this, it's hard to imagine that they could maintain that working from home, unless, but it could just be that they kept all the talented people in one room and fucking,
You sleep
and
here
got
now.
this thing done. I did wonder that with Tokyo Sinks 2020 and some of this stuff going on, where it's like the amount of anime might be getting cut down, because like ordinarily certain people and animators would be working on multiple shows per season, so it could just be that a lot of the more talented people are like on
Narrowing
one
it
show,
down.
like
narrowing
they
it
only have
down,
time
for
to work
sure.
on one thing. So hopefully that's the case.
Very possible.
That's just a head theory, like, going out, but
Big
like
brain, yeah.
I hope that's the case, so that this show doesn't turn out to be shit. Like that's what I hope for, is that this show maintains the level of quality that we've gotten in the first episode. I really hope it does, because we could get something really cool out of it, and I'm
Absolutely.
pretty fucking hype.
Yeah. So, basic premise of the show is there are these bizarre alien monsters who have descended upon the Earth, and they begin attacking humans, and so a la Cabaneri, they built a huge traveling fortress from which they can deploy soldiers to fight these monsters, and they've found a way to use the blood of the monsters to power their fortress.
Yes.
Which I think is a really neat mechanism.
Yeah.
Because it gives it an angle that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So it is really cool.
And there's
way.
like it immediately introduces this circle of like, they have to defend themselves from these monsters, but they also need to fight monsters for fuel. So like, there's a give and take there with, if this ended, they wouldn't be able to continue, but I guess they would have their land back and they wouldn't need the fortress anymore, so who knows?
And I think there's gonna be themes of like capitalism and like economic strife here for sure, because if the struggle stops, much like us having a war, when that struggle stops, the economy suffers. They're relying on that war to continue feeding the economy.
So it's like there might be an element of the people in power perpetuating this. We're getting some strong hints in the first episode of big conspiracies, but nothing, like, not enough that we can really make any kind of prediction on where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
But it seems pretty fucking neat. So you get a main girl introduced in opening scene. Her dad is like one of the guys who fights the monsters.
Well, it seems like he's like a researcher. He's not actively
yeah.
fighting. He's in like the reconnaissance units.
Yeah, because they have like different teams that go out into the world and they have to fight the monsters and stuff. And her arm gets like bit off immediately.
You don't even see
you don't
like
even
how
see
it happens.
Yeah.
It's like she follows her. She sneaks onto her dad's car, follows him out when he goes out into the field, and she jumps out and she's like, "Oh, cool! Check out this bug." And he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here? You're not supposed to be out here." And the guy's like, one of his friends like, "It's fine. She's just curious about the surface." And then of course like these monsters attack and they immediately get fucked. And within like the first 3 minutes, main girl has lost her arm.
Yeah.
Her arm is just gone.
And
She's
then
just like,
and her
"Hi,
dad
Dad."
dies. So her dad's
and then her
dead.
dad gets murdered.
So flash forward, now she's probably like 14 or so.
Yeah, it's probably 14.
And
15.
we're introduced to the city inside the fortress, which is it's like a shanty town. Like, this place is ghetto as fuck. At least what we're seeing now. There could be like I have a feeling there's probably a better society
there's definitely
higher
levels.
up. Like, there's definitely going to be a hierarchy, but she's clearly in the lowest
in the
level of
slums.
this society, the slums.
For sure.
And she kind of, like, I guess when children come of age in this world, they are just given a job based on kind of their performance evaluations, I guess. And she really wants to be one of the people on the front lines fighting these fucking monsters, but the powers that be have decided, no, fuck you.
Because
You're
she
not
has
suited.
the prosthetic
Yeah,
arm,
you've got
they
the
say
arm.
no.
Nope. And so she ends up getting assigned to be one of the cleaners.
Armor cleaner.
And so she has to basically clean the outside of this fortress and clean all the monster guts off of it. Which is immediately fun and comical. And so she gets on this this crew, and her boss is this jaded old fuck who's treating her like total shit. And you have your montage.
He's not that
of her,
mean to her. He's just the standard cold Oyaji kind of guy.
You know,
he's not a dick. He's just like,
well, the first thing he does is shoves her off the side of the thing with no explanation in a mop. And it's like
go
and then
it
gives her no instruction of what to do whatsoever.
Scrub.
And it's like, there's guts on the side of the shit. Scrub it, fucking idiot. Yeah, and so we get gradual bonding between him and her. She goes to his house at night. Well,
he leaves behind his flask of water at work,
and she brings it to him, and she's like, "You gotta throw me I want to have a party with you." And she's like, "I brought you this jug, so like, you should throw me a welcome party."
She wants to have a welcome party, and so she uses leverage of her bringing him back his water bottle, and she's already bought all the food and shit. And so she's like, I already bought everything, and I did you the favor of bringing this back to you, so you have to throw me a welcome party. And it's just her and Kaburaki in his room.
Yeah. And then his dog gets out.
What?
So he has one of the monsters in his house that he was trying to hide, clearly.
A little gadol.
Yeah, and it gets out, and she sees it, and then he's like, "No, it's harmless.
She tries to kill it. Yeah, she tries to kill it. She wants to prove herself that she's a soldier, and she can fucking kill these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he's cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but this thing is basically a pug.
It's basically a pug.
It's useless and retarded.
If a pug was a monster.
It's kind of like in the girl from fucking Made in Abyss.
It's like Mitty.
Blob. Yeah, the fucked up girl.
It is like Mitty.
Yeah, it's just like Mitty.
Oh god.
It's this useless fucking stupid thing, and so you immediately get
really
that like,
cute, though.
Okay, so some of these things aren't evil. We're going in that direction of like they have to kind of discover that what they're doing, like maybe these things are just defending themselves. Who knows? There's a lot of directions they can take that, but
curve here.
There's some sort of curve, and we get this weird scene of the guy like hunting a dude down at night and like taking some shit out of his neck, and there's
taking
like
a sample of some sort.
Fucking mysterious, ominous guy telling him like you got to get rid of all the bugs.
It's like, you haven't been finding enough bugs lately.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's like, all right, there's, sci-fi shit's going down. They're not giving us any hints, but you piece it together, I guess. Some Big Brother's watching. There's bugs.
There's something.
The glitches in the system. Are these people robots? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. At the end, there's a horde of the monsters and a fucking big boy.
Yeah, big ass boy.
The Deca-Dence. And it leads to a really cool fight scene where you learn.
Everyone gets knocked off of the fortress. All the guys,
all the cleaner
side.
boys.
And then the main dude, or the badass Oyaji, like as they're falling, gets one of like you see this battle, and the people are fighting like. Essentially, out of the fortress, a bunch of Mad Max people come out. Like, their force of fighting the monsters is basically a ragtag Mad Max caravan.
Yes.
And it's a bunch of people in goofy vans with hilarious outfits on, and they come out with these spears that are hollow, because they spear the monsters, and then it drains their blood out.
They have these like backpacks that seem to like facilitate their movement, like they can float and move in different directions, but they also suck in the monster blood and store it so that they can bring it back to the Deca-Dence.
They're like anti-gravity balls that they wear on their back, which is very interesting. It's kind of a play on the Attack on Titan.
It's very much like the omnidirectional gear. But with less rules.
Yeah, less rules. So it leads to some very sort of bizarre animation moments, because like these things don't have like it just seems like they control them with their mind, and there's no rhyme or reason to how they work. They just kind of go. Like there's no gravity to them, but then the people's bodies are like dragged around by them in an interesting way. Like they're just kind of dangling from it. So the ball just kind of moves on its own. It's very interesting. And it's going to lead to some epic battle shit. But so they're falling off the side of the thing. Oyaji Man gets one of the jetpacks.
Snags it off a guy who is dead and like falling to the ground.
And then we learn in a badass fight scene, he straps the girl to his belt basically, and she's like dangling as he
getting whipped around.
As he fucks up all these monsters. He's clearly an ex-soldier,
Yeah, he's clearly done this shit before many times.
And so at the end of the fight scene, the Deca-Dence goes through a transformation sequence, and you're like, all right, I know it's going to transform. Is it going to be a robot? Is it going to be, what's it going to turn into? And it's just like this insanely detailed, very intricate, beautiful sequence of this thing transforming. And it's got like all these mechanisms and interesting like biomechanical shit going on, and like fucking tentacles that are like nerve strands that go into a
locking
thing.
into ports and
it's got
shit.
like these fingers that and then it basically turns into a giant tank with a big fist on it and a giant jet engine on the back.
Yeah.
And then it shoots out these like spears into the monster that are like dragging it towards it, and the monster's like charging at them, and it's draining its blood. And then when it gets close enough, it just goes boof, and it just punches forward
out and
just decimates the monster.
It literally disintegrates.
Fuck, yes.
The monster literally disintegrates.
It gets fucked. And so it's like, okay, well, now we understand that this is a big fortress that does a big punch. And I like that it's like, it's super clunky and massive, and it has one function that is highly inefficient.
Just punch.
Because it's like, while it is mega powerful, there's so many limitations on its ability, you know, that it's gonna lead to tension in terms of, like, actually pulling off this attack, you know? It's not overpowerful. It's not magic. It's not a robot that flies around and shoots a million laser beams. It just has one function.
It can do one thing.
It can do one thing really, really well.
Real good, but the monster has to be real close.
Unless there's more forms that we haven't seen yet, but it seemed like that was the thing.
That
like
felt
the hype,
like it.
Like that was it. This was made to do this one thing and punch the living fuck out of a giant monster. Which it did incredibly well, and it was very cool. And then we get some weird shit at the end that there's just no explaining what the fuck they were going on about.
The bit at the end, there's like, I guess some sort of perhaps like cyber universe where there's clearly character avatars.
Yeah.
Go almost like, what's the fucking Summer Wars. Almost like the internet part of Summer Wars.
I have a feeling we're gonna find out the rich have their brain in jars or some shit.
Probably.
Like some, you know, some crazy fucking
Because
shit.
like, an announcer calmly is just like, oh, the soldiers have defeated the big monster, and we've gotten some blood. Good economic luck today, and that's it. There's like, oh, and everyone's like, cool, and they go about their business.
And it's like, yeah, the bigger the threat, the bigger the catch, because they also eat the monsters too.
Yes.
They butcher them.
They
and eat them.
waste
so, like,
no part of the monster.
Their entire society is running off of hunting monsters. And they need that to keep going, and who knows if there's anything to hunt besides monsters in the world now. I don't know what the state of the world is.
Very hard to say.
But yeah, but it's like it's a premise that we've kind of seen built on. It's still in that same vein of Attack on Titan and Cabanera the Iron Fortress, but it feels like this one is being executed in the way that I enjoy the most, and sort of the least self-serious and most like fun characters.
Yeah, the characters
levity.
are great.
It
Main girl
felt
is
really
great.
nice.
The Oyaji is great. Even, like, the side characters are interesting, like her best friend. Like, the diversity of skin colors and body types is really interesting. Like, she has a kind of, like, chubby friend. So it's, like, interesting to see it's not just every
And then there's, there was, like, purple
stick-thin
guys?
person. Yeah.
Don't know the deal with the purple guys.
The soldiers, I don't remember the name
They were a warrior
them.
race.
There's a name, because, like, the class that the main girl belongs to are tankers.
Yeah.
And all the tankers seem to be pretty human.
Tankers, tankies.
But then the soldiers, whose name of their class I cannot remember, they come down and they have, like, blue skin and pointy ears, purple skin. Like, they don't look like a normal human. So you gotta wonder, like, all right, well, what's going on there?
Yeah, what the fuck are these guys?
Because they established that, like, tankers almost never get to be elevated to be soldiers. Like, there's only like 200 tankers in the entire like soldier fleet.
Yeah.
So it's a really rare thing for that to happen. So clearly there's some sort of divide here that we haven't gotten into yet, and that could be really interesting.
I wonder if this is gonna be 12 episodes or. I just wanted a fucking anime original 26 episode long anime again, man. Like, Carol and Tuesday gave it to us, but that didn't stick the landing.
Unfortunately.
It's like, I want this. I want something like this that's 24 fucking episodes. I'm tired of 12 episodes. You can't get anything done in 12 episodes.
Yeah.
We've proved it time and time again. You can't get anything done. Even with something like B&A, it's like, you know, Like they could have done a lot more, and
Yeah.
like it's very clear that they had limitations.
Yeah.
Like, even reading interviews with B&A, it's like, it's clear, like, on the onset, they knew that it was going to be only 12 episodes, and so they had a lot more that they could have done with the humans, that they just narrowed it down into Animacity.
They had to cut it down.
We're keeping it here, we're not talking about anything else going on, because it'll get way too big. Mm-hmm. And even in that, it got really big, and, like, it didn't have a lot of time to spend on, like, character moments, you know? It had to really dig into the plot.
Yeah.
So I hope something like this... I hope they don't try to do too much with it, and it just becomes
a fine line.
A whole bunch of bullshit. I hope it doesn't become as messy as Cabaneri.
Yeah.
But it seems like from the beginning, there's more of a clear direction of where this is gonna go. I don't know, but it's impossible to tell with one episode, you know?
It definitely is.
Yeah.
And this is just completely random, has nothing to do with anything else that we've talked about. But the big Gadol at the end of the episode kind of looked like the alien from Alien 9 that sits on the school that gets the blonde-haired girl.
Yeah, they're cool monsters. There's a huge variation in the
There's
styles
a huge
of monsters.
variation of what the monsters look like.
And I'm glad they're going for that kind of like surreal, kooky looking monsters, you know?
They're they're super neat.
Because it always comes off as 10 times more terrifying when some goofy fucking weird alien monster is like ripping a dude's head off, because you're just like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah.
It's always way more fun. Very like Alien 9, you know? Or it's like, what the hell are these?
You look at them and you're like, what the
this comical thing that is just like wrecking someone, you
Where
know?
it varies from like being a goofy little dog to being a big terrifying thing that will just swallow you whole.
Yeah, very interesting. A lot more interesting than big dumb people wiggling around.
People wiggling.
Well,
that's because they are
castle
human,
fortress.
Victor. That's the horror.
Very Macross style city, but politics resembling hierarchical structure of who knows. It's gonna be a lot. I'm excited.
Be a lot, yeah.
I'm hyped for this.
But
I really hope it doesn't get screwed by COVID.
Seems pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And that's our two anime. We got Tower of High School Gods, and we got Deca-Dence, and I doubt anything else will be even half decent.
Yep.
I'm sure all these other anti-tubers will watch some fucking, you know, Jeff Thu will suck the cock of some fucking garbage, fucking bullshit, moe, fucking horseshit, high school asinine crap, and then, you know, we'll just fucking ignore all that and be like, alright, there's a couple neat-looking anime.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some amazing fucking isekai harem on right now that we're gonna totally miss out on.
I'm sure it's probably super good.
Yeah. Cool. Ah!